Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Catalina Gillies.
And I'm Ryan Benazzo. Thunder Bay police are investigating an apparent shooting at an apartment complex on the city's south side.
Nearly a dozen police vehicles were rushed to the corner of May and Cummings Streets today, and so far no arrests have been made. Police officers were originally dispatched to a reported disturbance in the area just before 11:40 this morning. Once officers arrived, they learned an altercation had taken place inside the apartment building, resulting in a male victim being shot. The injuries are not believed to be life-threatening. The alleged suspects had fled the area before officers arrived. The tactical unit was brought in to attend the crime scene, and the major crimes unit is now involved in the investigation. Meanwhile, just a few blocks away, police closed the intersection at May Street and Northern Avenue after a female cyclist was involved in a collision with a pickup truck. Paramedics transported the victim to hospital, and her injuries are believed to be serious. Police are urging anyone with information or dashcam video that could assist investigators in both incidents to come forward.
City police have now confirmed that one person was found dead inside a Westfort home where an explosion and a fire occurred last night. The powerful blast at the residence on East Frederica Street bent the outside walls and knocked the bricks right off the side of the home. Neighbor Eric Saint-Mars lives across the street and describes what he heard.
Roughly around 10 o'clock last night, I heard a bang. I looked through my window and the flames just started to show up, and then there's just a big boom, and then everybody was panicking, everybody's coming out. I just called the emergency and they showed up.
Thunder Bay Fire Rescue crews managed to put out the blaze while police blocked off the street. This morning, the residence was surrounded by 3 police vehicles and caution tape, and a police spokesperson announced this afternoon that along with the fire, they're now investigating a sudden death inside